to the regular Willits City Council meeting for June 24th, 2026. We're going to start with a pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country. If you could join with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Burton,
Pleased to be here.
Gonzalez,
Present.
Stransky.
Yes.
Alanis.
True.
Almond.
Here.
The City Council welcomes input from the audience. If there is a matter of business on the agenda that you are interested in, you may address the council when this matter is considered. If you wish to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda, you may do so at this time. In order for everyone to be heard, please limit your comments to 3 minutes per person. The Brown Act regulations do not allow action to be taken on audience comments in which the subject is not listed on the agenda.
Welcome to the City Council meeting. Is there anybody who would have a non-agendized item that would like to speak? Once or twice? Okay, is there any agendized item that anybody is in a hurry for and cannot wait until the agendized item comes up, but they would like to speak now? Okay, public comment on this, on public expression is closed. Let's go to enactment of ordinances. Or no enactment of ordinances. We have 2 items to consider for consent calendar tonight, council. The City Council considers matters listed under the consent calendar as routine. This council will take action with a single vote and roll call, single motion and roll call vote. A council member may request the removal of an item from the consent calendar for separate discussion and subsequent actions. So tonight, we're going to discuss 2 things, but the first one contains 2 items. The minutes for, the City Council minutes for the June 10th, 2026 regular meeting and the June 11th special meeting minutes. We also have an adoption of County of Mendocino Services 3-year agreement for animal control services with the city in an amount not to exceed $24,732 per year for a total of $74,196 for the term of the agreement, unless the City Council person would like to take that off the consent calendar. Hearing none, we'll go to public comment. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
Tom, I'm going to back up and ask that you take, I think we at least need to talk a little bit.
Okay, we'll talk about item B as a boy. Yes. All right, so do we have a motion for the passage of the 2 packs of City Council minutes, item A as an item?
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. To the clerk.
Councilmember Burton.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Alanis.
Yes.
Almond.
Yes. So, Councilman Burton, the adoption of County of Mendocino 3-year agreement for animal control services is to you.
Well, I mean, I think I understand some of the necessity of an animal control agreement. I don't know that there are other options. I've never really run into anybody, but I know that there's other organizations that care for unwanted animals that in the county. And given our budget issue, I think blindly passing a $25,000 a year deal for 3 years is kind of not addressing our financial obligations.
All right, any other council person want to weigh in?
Anybody else concerned about it? Are they comfortable with it?
I kind of see it as that there's no other game in town. I think that while there's the county shelter or the shelter down Redwood Valley, they're not going to take care of picking up animals and doing any of the bite reports that are required to be filed with the state. And I don't know if they have the capacity. At times, they've literally told everybody, we're not going to take any animals.
Well, I mean, I get that, Jerry, and I believe I believe that's the truth, but I don't know that anybody's offering them $25,000 a year to take on some other new responsibility. And I'd say, do we have an obligation obligation to at least ask our staff to, there's no staff report on it, so I'm assuming that they either was none done, or maybe they care to share, confirm that they talked to 10 people and this is the best deal out there. I just think blindly to not, that's part of doing a budget, is to question each line item. And this one, I've questioned this one multiple times for many years.
Yeah.
And have come back to the same decision, but doesn't mean we don't need to do it every time.
All right, Larry.
My big concern was when I used to get up early and walk my dog, that everybody just kicked their dog loose at 4 and 5 in the morning, and they just ran wild through the city. And I tried to get the person to come up and at least look at it, and I never got anybody from the county to get up early and do that. And that was my own objection to animal control, because there's not many dogs that run loose at 10 o'clock in the morning.
So you're my neighbor, and I know you're out walking your dog every day. Has that happened recently?
No,
Okay.
but I don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do that anymore.
I do, you should.
Do you have a dog again?
Huh?
Did you get another dog?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to weigh in?
No. Well, since everyone else did, yes, I would simply agree with Councilman Gonzalez that we don't really have a lot of choices, not a lot of other games in town here. I don't think it's a blind decision to allow the people that we are hiring to make these decisions to promote these ideas here. We've talked about this, I thought we talked about this before, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just thinking about the conversation 3 years ago, but I have every reason to believe that our interim city manager and Chief Fay and anybody else who looked at this realizes it's already in the existing budget, and that if there was a way of saving money, that they would be doing that. And I'm just going to leave it like that.
All right, to the public, is there anybody who would like to weigh in on this, please? Please step to the podium, say who you are, and give us your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Brian Well, I live in Brook Trails. We have an ordinance in Brook Trails for people to keep their dogs and pets on a leash. Is there a similar ordinance for the city?
There is.
And it's not being adhered to much, or how do we know?
Well, there's an issue, there's a law about speeding too, but we have speeders. So just because you have an ordinance doesn't mean you solve the problem.
True. That's very true. Yeah, it's just a thought.
Right.
It's kind of working in Brook Trails, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more public comment? Going once, and public comment is closed. To the council, any more comments?
I would just ask if these concerns are here and they continue, that maybe before, and I know that you're fairly new, Chief, but maybe before the next time this contract renews, that maybe we see if anybody's out there. I don't think there will be, but if there's anybody out there that would be willing. I know that in Lake County, they had issues, and apparently in their situation, their non-governmental group collapsed over there, and that was the problem with some of those situations that people get going. A lot of the nonprofits come and go. So.
All right, any more council comments? Is there someone who would like to make a motion or not make a motion?
I will make a motion that we adopt the County of Mendocino Services 3-year agreement for animal control services with the city, not to exceed $24,732 per year, for a total of $74,196.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Yes, a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment?
Well, we're going to be talking about it in just a matter of moments, that with the infusion of $2 million of Measure K money, which only brings in $1 million and change a year, or has so far, our budget is $36,000 out of balance. So we're adding that at 100% of that expenditure is deficit spending.
Okay. Any more comment? Okay, we have a motion and a second to the clerk.
Councilmember Burton?
No?
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Stransky?
No.
Alani?
Yes.
Mayor Ullman?
Aye. All right, so we've gone through the consent calendar. We have no monthly activity reports and no commissions, and the city manager report to our interim city manager.
This week, as you can imagine, was relatively slow all the way up until this morning. First, I would like to say that our first responders and our employees all performed admirably. The amount of training and experience that they have really showed up. People were out taking care of their responsibilities and doing so without really even needing any direction. So thank you to all of our staff for the great job you did in responding and looking out after our community. This week, Councilmember Gonzalez and I met with, the end of last week, met with the Chamber of Commerce folks. They are in the process of revamping their leadership and installing some new accounting software, which will allow them to provide to the city a much more robust budget, so that we have a little bit more of an inside look on how they're using the TOT money that the city shares with them. The folks that we met with were really interested in solidifying their relationship with the city.
They also, just to kind of throw it out there, they also reached out to some of the folks that came in and complained and basically tried to mend some fences in the community. Larry, did you have something?
Yes. I've heard some real negative things about the chamber, but you said it's going to be under new people?
Leadership.
It is
All new people?
a whole new board of folks. I have a communication.
Who's going to run it?
Well, I believe that Gary Hubble is going to
Gary Hubble will be
be
the
leading it.
he's leading as president. And
Yeah, and I know that he had a meeting with our community development director and another one of the local business folks, and we're working on clarifying some relationship and some issues that had cropped up in the past, and I think that Dusty was able to facilitate a remediation of that.
Okay.
Anything more for the city council, the city manager report?
Nope, not for tonight.
Okay, is there any public comment on the city manager report? Hearing none, report's accepted. Thank you very much. Moving on to the agendized item of department recommendations, action items, update and recap of fiscal year 26-27 budget with financial advisor presenting, staff member Joseph Park, administrative service manager. Thank you. This is going to be on the PowerPoint, and the council has it in front of you.
And thank you very much for printing this out. It's really hard for me to follow along on the computer.
If you'd like me to print it out each meeting, I don't have a problem with that.
Mic is on.
We're good on? Okay. All right, thank you very much. What I'd like to say, of course, is that this was the presentation made to us last week at the Finance Committee meeting, and this gives us all an opportunity to see it together and go over what was presented by Andy Heath, our financial advisor. He has been working diligently on this budget and is going to be able to give us the full budget, has actually already submitted the materials so that we can go through it with a fine-tooth comb and have it available with all of the details. What this presentation does for us is it lets us know exactly where we are and where we need to focus so that we can start making the necessary changes moving forward in the next few years. So without further ado, this is the recap. The questions and comments at the end were on his slideshow. So if there are questions and comments after this presentation, I will need to come back to those questions if they're not something that I've already been told by Andy Heath. So the outline of this presentation is the preparation of the 26-27 fiscal year budget, focusing on general fund and Measure K fund. The staffing allocation updates, the general fund and Measure K fund forecast update, so we can have a glance at looking forward. The budget preparation next steps, which is what has occurred from last week until now. And then, of course, there were some questions, only a few at the end of that presentation, that I'll bring up what that question was, and it's what all of us are thinking about, of course. So the first slide is going over the budget preparation forecast update and the staffing allocation updates. And what this slide is representing to us is the FTE allocations. And just so that everyone who knows or does not know what FTE represents, that is a full-time equivalency or a 100% full-time employment of one position. So 1.0 would represent one full-time position, 40 hours a week, full-time. There are different part-time positions that may add up to that position. So when you see the numbers on each of these columns, 0.87, 0.25, that is a percentage of a position or a full-time equivalency. So what this graph is representing and what Andy was trying to demonstrate to us is that we have, now is there a way, yeah, here we go. It looks like one of the slides is missing. The main slide on the outline, what I wanted to say that I forgot to mention, on the biggest bullet point for Andy was reminding us all that on March 9th, just 3 months ago, was the fiscal emergency and a complete shakeup of these positions. So for us to be able to pull this together in 90 days and present a reasonable, somewhat realistic budget is pretty insane. And he actually thinks that the city has done a lot of work and a really great job turning that around and refocusing after such a shakeup and so many positions moved around.
I think we declared the fiscal emergency in April of '25. 3 months ago? It was
Yeah.
a year ago.
We discussed it, but it wasn't declared.
Yeah, sure, that question, yeah.
We declared it when Richard came.
When Bob came?
Bob Richardson.
So, Mr. Park, just to clarify the graph, because I love graphs and this makes perfect sense, but
Yeah.
people are watching at home here. So we're looking at Fund 530, right, the water, right? That's our enterprise fund. And that 9.9 number says that that essentially right now, we have 9.9 employees that are being paid from that particular fund, Fund 530. Is that what I understand the chart to say?
What it means is that 9.9 positions are being funded by that fund. But this is actually more than one employee and split. And so what was one of the challenges that Andy came and faced is that we had allocations to each position coming from all sorts of different funds, including 530, 510, and things had moved around quite a bit to make people whole, to make positions whole. And over time, that could happen. So part of this process for him was cleaning these positions up and making it less convoluted so that we could have more of it directed towards the general fund or the wastewater fund or the water fund, and not have everyone split in 5 different funds for better accounting.
So this number we're looking at for the general fund, 24.43, that's the number of employees that are coming from the general fund, but under, say, a different, somebody in the past, let's say a previous city council or a previous city manager, they could have massaged those numbers and put some of that 24 employees inside of the wastewater, inside of the water, and Mr. Heath and yourself have taken the effort to actually match what it is we're spending on, because 24 seems pretty high, but at least now we know the actual number as opposed to what we did in the past. Is that
Yes, and what point, for example, if there's an administrative person that is working in conjunction with all departments, they may be funded by all departments or all funds. That is one way of approaching it for administrative overhead, to split it out to the different departments that utilize the administration. What we were trying to do is consolidate this down so that the majority was to the general fund, but also if people were not necessarily working with wastewater and they're actually working more with water and too much of their funding is coming from the wrong place, we're also trying to get that more in the appropriate area.
Do the police come from the general fund then?
Yes. So one thing that he didn't have split out on this chart, because it's by fund, is he pointed out that 15 of these 24.43 in the general fund are the police department.
Check, thank you for sharing that.
And what he was also trying to point out, the improvements that were made between the wastewater and the water, is that they're now more even, where before they weren't so close and it wasn't spread out very evenly throughout our administration. And if we take away that 15 FTE from the general fund, you can see that there's then 9.43 coming from the general fund from administration. So we're actually more in balance administratively once you remove that 15 FTE from the general fund for the police department.
Now, again, this doesn't solve any of our homes. This is just letting it, now we are seeing what the issues really are so that when we make these decisions, we'll be affecting the right areas that we want.
Yes, this will be much easier to track.
Okay.
And we will try to even get more detailed in following years to make sure that people aren't split so much that we can't keep track of all the
Sounds
funds.
great.
So, I mean, it's still, people hours are blended between different activities. I mean, you can put it on this graph and claim that 100% of your time is spent on administrating the general fund, but that doesn't alter the fact that you work on, you don't actually spend all your time doing that. I mean, you can, this may be a simplification for appearances, but these aren't recreating job descriptions, and people are no longer helping. The water department, I assume, is still helping wastewater when they need people to complete a task.
Correct. No, this is and how it was set up before, it was split by percentage, and it still is that way.
I mean, I think what's more, and I guess we'll get this whenever we get an actual budget, but how the FTE allocations have changed from last year to this year, or 3 years ago, which way it's trending, or what, you know, it's the difference that is really more interesting than what the flat number is, to me, anyway.
Agreed. For example, the prior finance director position was split among multiple department funds, and now my position, for the sake of bringing it all back into consolidation, is 100% general.
Oh,
But no, that has implications. I mean, that has financial implications that can be misrepresent what the city's real costs are. But we need to be careful about that.
And it's my understanding, Mr. Park, too, that I feel like in the last couple of years' budgets, there were misrepresentations, and that this effort is to correct those. But the point is notwithstanding, I mean, it's really easy to hide these things, and that's what I was kind of getting to, couldn't get to speak out a little bit, was that I feel like a lot of what has been done so far is correcting what has been done in the past, because they were trying to pretend that our general fund was fine when it really wasn't, because it did not match up with the work they're actually doing. So I certainly don't want us to pretend or to put a fake number on there and make it look like we're doing something we're not. But my hope is that these numbers represent a more accurate way of what they're actually doing anyway. So not that they're just
Yes, and the word that Andy used was arbitrarily in the past, and
Okay.
and that's the mutation that can happen over time, and Councilmember Burton's point is completely correct. It can get skewed and it can start to look like things aren't, there's no reasoning or understanding behind it anymore. It's just making people or positions whole. And so that's what we're doing, is starting back at zero. We have to break it back down and then reallocate with backup behind it.
Well, yeah, and the irony of the whole thing is it didn't create a balanced budget when they did it anyway. I mean, if what those allocations, correct or incorrect, they were overspending, as we still are, fellows, well overspending the revenue that we have to work with. So
Is going
we're not
back
doing
to,
anything different yet.
going back to what our administrative service director was saying, that our budget consultant, his view was that the allocation breakdown was arbitrary, and short of having a time analysis study per position, if you're allocating any percentage of a job short of 100%, or short of something simple like 50%, as the city manager, this position is allocated to the general fund, but the reality is that the city manager spends part of their day on water, part of their day on wastewater, part of their day on landfill, part of their day on airport, part of the day on administration, but without an actual scientific time study analysis, any allocation would be seemed arbitrary. But whether in actuality it was close to the mark or not close to the mark, I don't know the answer to that. But I don't think it wasn't just random allocations. That the allocations were made to try to determine how much of the actual job was spent out of those different funds. But the point of starting back at zero and reallocating the wastewater job to just the wastewater, the slide that I believe is missing is the one that's associated with this, that shows before this reallocation, what were we charging to the various different funds. And unfortunately that's missing, but as you see it now, and as Joseph was saying earlier, if we remove the 15 FTE from police department, which can only be allocated to general fund, but if we move that to the side, then the funds that we have are really kind of balanced now. And as we move forward, starting back at zero, as we determine that reallocations are necessary, we'll find supporting data for how those reallocations are made.
Yeah, I guess, James, my point is that it isn't just, this has, it's not just a shell game where we're really working with one pot of money and, it's all expense to us, and it's, and one line of income. We have contracts that allocate costs based on our costs. And it's important that those are accurate for us, for the city to be fairly compensated for their time. So arbitrarily taking all of your, and putting your city manager all into the general fund has a financial consequence to the city. It isn't just a, you're not just doing it to clean up the books. If it was all the city involved costs and payments, I would be less concerned about it. But we have, we have other obligations and that we have that are emanate from these numbers, and they're important.
Well, these numbers are important, and I think that some people in the past have taken somewhat of an easy route of writing a budget by using the arbitrary percentages that certain employees would be working. And the enterprise funds are doing okay, not doing super, but they're doing okay. And I think that this year we've taken the harder route of being more transparent and more honest to the taxpayers of not using the enterprise funds to balance our budget. And that's where we are right now. And yeah, we're short on the budget, but we're doing it the right way to where hopefully a standard has been set to where in the future, others are not going to take the easy way out and put us back in a situation that we're desperately trying to crawl out of. And then you want.
Thank you.
Well, let's keep going.
Yes, next, the slide that is presented after that.
So there is a missing slide?
I don't think that there's a missing slide from this deck. I think what we're missing, which is confusing, is the budget that is broken down and the allocations that were received from the different departments is not included in this deck to justify why those allocations were on the last slide. Those are in the actual materials that have already been received recently and will be presented at the next
We'll see
meeting.
at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Were they presented at the finance committee meeting?
No, this is what was presented at the finance committee meeting. But I do know that the departments were consulted first before the wastewater and water funds were allocated to their teams.
Okay.
This slide is focusing on showing that the current fiscal year that we're about to wrap up is the anticipated surplus of $36,000, $36,740, because we have the updated estimates. And one of the very few benefits of being this close to the end of the fiscal year is these are not forecasted numbers, where we're having to forecast out the last 3 months or so. But of course, as you can see, we had to use the Measure K reserves to be balanced this year. The preliminary budget for 26-27 is showing the reality of the anticipated use of the reserves of $483,000 as it sits now, to get to the budget amounts that are prepared on us making a very conservative revenue estimate and a very real expense report, which we want to be conservative to start. But this is the reality, and what Andy wants us to plan on for 26-27 is that all positions, of course, are allocated to the general fund are filled in their role for the entire year. We're assuming that the positions are filled when we're making the budget. And also the scheduled revenues for Measure K have been projected to be 1.228 million. And this is assuming that, I'll move to the next slide here. This is assuming that we're going to have to use everything that comes in from Measure K to put into each budget year.
Okay, I just want to slow down a second because that's pretty heavy stuff. And we're going to talk more about each things you just said a little while ago. But with regards to the 26-27 preliminary budget, first of all, we have it's prepared on a conservative basis. You mentioned that. It also assumes that all of the positions are allocated for the entire year. Do we have any vacant positions right now? I believe there's just the one, and that one is in the police department, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We have 2 vacant positions. The one vacant police sergeant, which
Oh, right.
is
We just had one more.
which is going to probably remain vacant at least for the foreseeable future. And then the second is the city manager position that is also vacant.
Oh, of course.
And that will be part of, at next week's council meeting. We'll do our vacancy hearing, the public hearing for vacancies, which is required. But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is assuming that all of our allocated positions are funded fully throughout the entire year. Now, whether they are filled throughout the whole year or not.
Okay. Okay, that gives us a little bit, and that's some money. And then the third thing is critical is that we're also including the fact that we are going to be, all of the money that we receive on an annual basis from Measure K, approximately $1.2 million, that all of that will be transferred into the budget just to make this possible.
Plus 483,000.
Well, I was just going to say, so even after the 1.2 million, we're still going to be short $483,000, $500,000. And the recommendation at this point is to use our reserves for that, to cover that $500,000, correct?
That is not ideal
Right.
or recommended for us to do that throughout 26, 27. That is if we have to.
Okay.
But we do have, I mean, in this slide, it shows in the preliminary budget with these transfers, gets us up to revenues of 5.785, right? But we still have projected expenditures of 6.269. So there's 400,000 or whatever that is. Still out of, even then, it's still out of balance. I guess my other point or question is, our expenditures, Andy, projected general fund of the 6.789, right, for 25, 26, and 6.269 for 26, 27. Is it logical to conclude then that reducing the staffing by the number that we did is netted us a $500,000 savings? Are there any cuts to the budget? Have we directed, or is any of the department heads been told to find a 10% savings in their budget? Has there been any direction given to address this budget deficit at the staff level?
I don't have the specific answer to that question because I wasn't here when they began the
It never
budgeting
happened up
process.
here on the dais, as far as I know.
So the specific conversation that occurred with the department heads when they were given the budget worksheets and asked to complete their budgets. So I don't know the direction that they were given at the moment, but I know that the direction from me and my conversations with Andy was that after the mid-year budget cuts, that all the budgets would be at least flat and there wouldn't be increased budgets. So I don't know.
Well, I think it's our role really to do that, to direct you and then to direct it along. So I mean, I think that to me is one of the decisions we ought to be making here tonight in directing staff to develop their, bring in we're getting some projections on funds here, very helpful, and where we're trending. So if that is in fact the case, which we've been seeing that for a year and a half that we've been here, then are we going to direct our people to try? We did a staff reduction that we didn't do it until April. It didn't become effective until the fourth quarter, and with the buyouts and everything, you really cannot expect any savings in your 25-26 budget. But it looks, if everything is flat, like you said, James, and then it kind of looks to me like That's the only, I mean, that's one explanation for a drop in $500,000 in expenditures is that, but we also don't have a city, I mean, but those are funded positions, so, you know, it should be kind of telling us that. That's my question, I guess. Is that what it tells you?
Yes, this is fully loaded with all the positions that are on the current org chart after the restructure. Something that happened very recently that
Sure.
that really hurt was the healthcare increase.
Yeah, now, what was that? That was a 26%? What did I see that? Or is that-
It was quite a bit higher than that. This next slide will help us break down what ate into our savings when it came to the restructure. So just to explain in words what Andy's logic were, there was a full implementation of the fiscal emergency strategies that everyone tried to do everything they could, but that he made a very basic budget and there's no significant one-time expenses or activities that were trying to be added. That we're assuming 100% of the Measure K expected annual collections as a revenue source, which we've covered again. That we re-characterized the former RP TTF residuals as ongoing secured property tax. This is something that was set up prior that it's just been reclassified. That all positions were assumed filled that we just discussed so that we could make sure not to try to pretend like, well, there's vacancies, let's try to factor that in. We won't know that, so we want to make sure that we have the fully loaded staff. And then we included the comprehensive updates to the distribution of the staffing costs. And here's where we get to the line item about the significant increase in health benefits costs. The new total general fund budget, 19% of the general fund expenditures are healthcare at $922,000.
Joseph, how much movement do we have in that area that we could interject? How much of it is negotiated and we can't touch, and how much of that can we trigger?
As far as the healthcare?
Yeah.
Well, what I know about the healthcare change that happened just a few weeks ago that sent us for a little bit of a loop here is that we had an open enrollment period to change what plans were available, and it affected our 250 plan. And we're going to be going back to another open enrollment period in October or November and trying to figure out a different method. But this was something that our current provider did to us that was out of our control. So there's not really any room for us to move this right now, but we do have to go back to the drawing board about healthcare and what we're going to have to do about those costs. It got very expensive to do the employer portion.
I mean, I take that as another way of saying that we may have to reduce benefits or raise copay or do look at modifying the quality, or what I guess you could call it, of the healthcare plan to get costs more in line with what they were previously.
We're somewhat prohibited on the dais of speaking about things that could be in our negotiations with our unions.
Well, the fact that it is, I mean, it's certainly public knowledge that health benefits are one of them.
I get it, it's common sense, I'm just trying to.
That
Are I don't think we're talking strategy as much as we're just trying to figure out, is there
Oh,
a point where
I
we,
get it. I get it.
Yeah, it's the last thing that we want to mess with.
yeah,
But we definitely need to take a look at what's available out there, competition-wise, provider-wise, and there was just no time.
we weren't the
to-
only city hit with this, right? A
No.
lot of the
No.
Sarah cities were hit.
Correct. But there was just no time to address that before presenting this budget with what's real right now.
And it's not just the cities, also I know the school districts across the area, I mean, are just taking a huge hit. And so it's just pretty much going to be the new normal for California for quite a while. So this healthcare is, we'd love to get to the end of it, or if you could just find even competition, but the way the pool system works, we're pretty limited in what we can and can't do. And then, of course, we're part of larger groups, and they represent us, and we're pretty limited in what we can or can't do. And then the choices we have are, again, only available to whatever the insurance make available. So we're pretty limited in what we can or can't do. I think a lot of us are just not realizing that we're under the gun here. And hopefully the state of California can address it as a larger issue, because it's a large statewide issue affecting every part of it. So appreciate you keeping track on that. Yes, and we have to be diligent, because it's going to eat up our budget. I mean, it's going to be next year, even more probably. I mean, it's not going to go down next year. It's 19% this year. It might go up a little bit more next year. It'll go up the year after that. It won't go down. We can pretty much plan on that. So anyway, thanks for keeping track of all that. Thank you. Sure.
The other piece that Andy is aware of, but is not in this particular overview, is the annual costs, or whatever type of annual payment costs that we'll need to potentially put in a needed RIMS record management system. This is something that it's just on the horizon for us, and we have to be prepared for it. Okay, this slide focuses more on Measure K alone. The fiscal year 25-26 updated estimates were 1.216 in revenues, and the expenditures were 2.11. And in the preliminary budget for 26-27, he is projecting the 1.228, and the expenditures, he is projecting this forecast out as if we're trying to limit ourselves to that. This is before trying to do any reserve use or anything. This is the number we want to see. And you can see on the line right below that the anticipated use of the reserves, which we're only a little bit away from the end of the fiscal year, is $894,000 out of that Measure K, above and beyond the revenue. And that will account for the transfers to the general fund for $2 million, and the capital improvement fund for $110,000.
I'm not sure if you know offhand, but if I recall going over that last time, it was a lot of that was in police overtime. I remember having to transfer like $1 million from Measure K just to cover the police overtime. So there's certainly key parts of that we're using that we could take another look at, maybe find out where a lot of that is covering. You know, I know it's going into general fund in general, but anyway, let's just bring that up. Thank you.
The 26-27 balanced budget that he's trying to get us closer to accounts for the transfers of the 1.228 as shown above, and that will result in what we've already identified as a projected deficit for 26-27.
Of 35,000 or something like that.
Well, the 35,000 is the overage in this current fiscal year. Next year, the 26-27 projection is closer to 500,000 deficit. Using this model, if we don't add any reserves,
Oh, I see, okay.
that we just take what we made from Measure K and apply it directly, then that will put us at a negative 485 approximately.
Right.
And worst case scenarios, conceivably, that would come from the Measure K funding balance, which is 3.3 million.
It's the only place for it to come from.
I mean, and even like, okay, well, let's just do that. That would only make it possible for 4 or 5 years. And then we're zeroed out on the reserves, we're zeroed out on everything. Basically, this is not a solution.
No, correct.
But it may be something that we have to do to make it zeroed out for this budget.
Band-Aid.
Okay, a Band-Aid, yeah. Okay,
Yes.
just making sure I understand.
So the key assumptions for this forecast, this budget update, is that we're assuming the updated new reorg staffing levels for all years in this next forecast that we're about to review, that all the positions are assumed filled for the entirety of the fiscal year. So we're pretending there's no vacancies. This is fully loaded. That the CalPERS unfunded liability costs are updated and consistent with the actuarial forecasts. And the cost allocations updated to account for all cost transfers to other funds. And the Measure K transfers for future years are assumed at amounts expected to be collected in the given year, which is estimated to be approximately 1.2 to 1.3 million in annual sales tax.
How have sales tax revenues been trending?
So in the quarterly, they've been going up and down, but right now they're not trending up. They're trending slightly down.
I mean, I would think that this last 6 months or whatever we've had of $7 gasoline, I suspect that the biggest part of our sales tax revenue comes from gasoline sales in this town. But that,
Well, for the last 3 years, our sales tax revenue has gone down 9% per year.
right, yeah.
So you can't, that's more than 27% because it's 9% one year and then 9% compounded, 9% and then 9% reduction. So
Well, that was my question.
Yeah.
But they actually look like they're projecting a slight increase in Measure K revenue. It's, albeit modest, but it was up
Yes, from
216 to
Yeah.
228. It could be more modest, but the trend in that number is up.
yeah, he did put that in the projection, you're right.
You guys get the trends from Muni Services, right? Is that who's doing our sales tax figures?
What that prior slide was describing is the visual graph that we have in front of us now. And that is the trends and that $35,000 difference that we were talking about. You can see in the fiscal year 25-26 that we're in right now. That's the year that we're in right now, using the reserves to make ourselves balanced. And then if we do not use reserves and we're just taking the income from Measure K and applying it directly to the general fund, 26-27 shows the $483,000, almost $484,000 dollar deficit in the general fund alone, just not addressing that with any reserves. And then, of course, if we continue on that pattern and project out, he's got the bar graph showing that it will continue to eat away at our reserves until Measure K is no longer in 2030. And then it will significantly rise towards the 1.3 to 1.5 million deficit a year.
Okay. And those numbers, like again, we're at 26, 27 proposed, kind of in the middle-ish there, the fourth row over. That number 483, that's our year this year here. And that already presupposes that we're going to use the entire annual income from Measure K, three-ish.
Correct.
So even in the forecast of the 27, 28, 29, even saying in 28, 28, 29, we're 400,000 short, that's still $400,000 short after we spend all of the Measure K money. And given that our reserves is essentially a Measure K fund, which is 3.3 million, we take out a chunk of $500,000 here, $500,000 there, 3 to 4 years, we're done with all of that money. And then we won't even have Measure K. And we won't even have that 1.3 million coming in.
That's the next slide. The next slide.
Okay,
tells you
all right. I was just trying to frame it for those people at home, because it's like I feel like we're kind of, myself at least, I'm kind of give two different messages here. One is, it's bad. We're getting better. We're doing what we can to make it look good. But I also don't want to and I want to whitewash it. I forget which phrase I'm using, but I don't want to whitewash it to seem like, hey, we're doing everything right, and as soon as we fix it, everything will be happy, because we really haven't addressed this curve of this green line, which makes up the difference here in a long-term way. So I feel like that's what other people are mentioning over and over again. I just want to reframe it again for people who are watching this at home or take the time to follow along on social media, because it does get a little convoluted, and so I just wanted to reframe that. Yes. So we'll get to more details about how bad it really is, but we got years before we may have to look at it. So we don't want to get there. I mean, it's not 3 years until we get there. We're not getting there. We got 3 years to figure out how we're going to save this ship from the end. Okay. Thank you.
So on your graph up there, the first is the 23, 24, and underneath that it says estimated. I would have thought that those numbers would be, I mean, we even have an audit for 23, 24. Am I misreading what that estimated means?
I was wondering that myself. I can ask Andy if he intended to put the word estimated, because that's historical.
Yeah, I mean,
But I
I think he
do
was
know
using this as
that
an update from the last time he used this, so he probably just forgot to change that from the numbers. But we should double check to make sure that.
it could
this is
be
actual.
because, in my understanding, we weren't directly supplementing over Measure K at first.
Right.
So he was trying to also explain to us that it wasn't directly coming over in past years. Now it's coming over and the reserves are assisting us. And if we just take the direct revenue year to year, that's what we'll have to use to stay balanced if we don't change anything.
yeah, it's kind of a weird graph in that the graph goes down as you go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zero is at the top of the graph, and all the red numbers are minus numbers. So you're kind of looking at it.
Yeah, the numbers, it is kind of confusing. The numbers on the left refer to the green chart, which is the difference between the revenues and expenditures, and the numbers on the right.
The numbers on the left refer to the deficit
No,
in that
they
account.
refer to the difference, the surplus or deficit. It's the numbers on the right that actually are given the actual totals for the red and green.
Understand that, but
Oh.
the others. Anyhow, it all tells the same story.
Thank you.
Okay, move on.
So for the next slide, it's a different way of showing the same story, like you said. But this is letting us know when the fund is going to deplete and we will no longer be receiving the revenue from Measure K in 2030. And so this is another representation of the fund being accessible, the Measure K fund being accessible, and once it becomes no longer accessible and it runs out.
Questions? Moving on.
This next slide is, Andy is pointing out the costs and the revenue just from the base budget of the general fund, just to give it some perspective that our general fund base revenue for 26-27 is 4.6 million, where the general fund base costs are 6.3 million. So the base costs exceed the revenue by 1.7. And the salaries and benefits alone to pay the staff are $300,000 more than our base revenue. And then he's included on the bottom half of the graph the other operating costs and liability and insurance. And then he's got that salaries and benefits split out, so you can see the $300,000 difference from our revenue.
Okay, so just the salaries and benefits covers everything we make in a year.
Plus 300,000.
Wow.
I mean, I think the salaries and benefits, I mean, the gross revenue would just about cover the cost of the police department. If you sunsetted City Hall, you could fund the police department.
Any other comments on that slide? So on the next slide, he reemphasizes that it's not likely that the general fund and Measure K fund will be balanced due to the currently projected use of $483,000 plus in reserves to balance the budget in future years. And the complete budget schedules for all other special funds to determine if there are opportunities that exist to move costs from the general fund to other funds is what he was developing between last week and this week to try to see where we could reallocate some of those funds and to let us know what we've got to work with.
And is that what will be presented to us this week?
That is for the special meeting on Monday, is where we will see the breakdown.
So he's doing that now, what we'll get later this week then?
I don't know if he caused the earthquake, but that's when it arrived.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm willing to start that rumor.
I'm happy to say that we have it. We don't have to say he will get done.
Okay.
He is done. But we will be able, we couldn't put it on the agenda for this meeting, but it will be on the agenda for the next meeting.
And when it's in the packet out to everybody, we'll have a copy of that too.
Correct.
On Friday.
So Joseph, for Monday's meeting, will we have an ability to look at what was given to us and be able to request changes be made, or are we looking at passing it for now and then coming back to the drawing board again and looking at things? I guess I want to figure out what we're doing on Monday.
So I don't think that we have to see it twice. So I don't know if that's where we'll be able to make additional changes and then pass it in time. But just from what I understand from this representation and what this budget is, we can scour it, but the return on that time spent trying to go through it for us to find something that's going to completely change something is probably not likely. And so this is probably our budget unless there's a major discrepancy.
Thank you.
That's fair.
Without action from this body.
We have, Andy has emailed us the actual hard copy of the line-by-line budget. I spent some time today reading it. Dolores will have it in the council agenda packets by tomorrow. So you'll have an opportunity to have the budget and have an opportunity to review it and go through it over the course of the weekend on our meeting on Monday. That will be the council's decision whether to accept and pass the budget as presented, or whether that you'd like to.
We got experience in delaying passing the budget.
We're doing pretty good this year.
No, but last year we didn't approve a budget until
October.
October.
It would be my preference to have a.
Not my, I mean, mine too.
So it will be available to you tomorrow afternoon. If you need a hard copy of it printed, let me know now, and
It's really, yeah.
Can you do 5 of them?
Let's do 5.
So
I
we'll,
just don't think you can
yeah, we'll,
All right.
I can't review it on the computer either. I've got a hard copy of it. So I'll have a hard copy available for you tomorrow afternoon, and we'll email out the electronic version of it to you. And then that'll give you an opportunity to go through and review and ask any questions that you want. And then at our meeting on Monday, that'll be on your agenda.
And it'll be available to the public on Friday.
We're closed on Friday, but yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, do we make unadopted budgets available to the public?
I would
don't believe
prefer
so.
we do. Yeah. I mean, this is a big deal.
In the interest of transparency, I don't.
Yeah, and sure, there's no reason not to.
Will we set a time for the Monday meeting?
6:30.
6:30.
6:30, good. I was just hoping it wasn't at the time.
I think we said it at that because of you.
Thank you so much. Be here at 6:28.
All right. Joseph, you've been here 2 months, and this is really appreciated, You're taking hard questions tonight. Are there any more questions for Joseph? Then we'll go to public comment.
You know, what would be really helpful, and maybe I have it, but I think is seeing a 2019-20 budget. There was a balanced budget, and you know, I mean, the story, correct me if I'm wrong up here, but was that staff, the city manager, or whoever was claiming that we needed this Measure K for special funding for the police department to augment public safety.
I think it had to do with not just the police department, but
Some
general
special
fund.
projects and
Well,
stuff.
general fund in general.
But point being is that in 1920 or thereabouts, we had a balance and performed with a balanced budget. I mean, they had prior, that money came in and they never spent any of it because they had, it turned out that they had a balanced budget. I think seeing that year, the last year that the city operated within its financial capability to compare it to, we can't just look at this thing at a snapshot. We've got to look at what changed between price of insurance and stuff went up. How many employees do we have in 2020? How many people are in the wastewater department then? How many were in City Hall? We need to see how we blew a 4.2, 4.3 general fund budget into a 6.7. I think the community deserves an answer to that. And I'd like an answer. And I have my guesses, but I think that we need something to an anchor point, to me, to tell where, kind of how we got here.
I'm not sure that those numbers are any more accurate than what the previous council was using. I mean, just because it was balanced doesn't mean that either the expenditures or the revenues were accurate. And what we've been learning over the last few months is that all of that's been inaccurate.
To the extent that they had an audited financial statement and fund balances grew over the year, or we had a $15 million accumulated earnings in the bank, and we're down to 6. I mean, I think those numbers are, to me, they're useful numbers. I don't think that you don't have to look at them. I think might help me. Might not be sharp as everybody else.
I think anybody who's followed the last 6 or 7 years of budgets could opine of what created this problem, but at this point, that's an academic conversation.
Not really.
Well, we need a budget for our citizens, and it is somewhat of an academic. It's if there is a time to look at it, it's after we pass this budget and to look at it and to think about next year. There were several factors involved. You know, we had 9 new positions added to the city after Measure K passed, which some people would question that. We've had employee raises, which were good for the employees, and we've had the cost of living go up, and we've had Measure K go down. And when all these factors are added together, you end up with a negative sum, and that's where we are right now. But I don't think that now is a time to hash out a 2019 budget when we're trying to figure out.
Oh, Tom, you misunderstand. I'm just taking that is, I'm taking audited 2020, 2019 numbers and our cost allocations across all of our departments and seeing what they were then and what they are now and seeing the staffing levels in there and is there anything in there? Have we gotten growth in these departments that isn't warranted?
Oh, I agree with that.
No,
And I don't know how you can do it unless you know where, the last time you were solvent, so to speak, look at from that point of view, the last time you spent what you got taken in, and I think it's exactly our job right now. It is not the job of the next budget. I mean, pass whatever budget you want, but pass it with your eyes wide open.
I agree.
Well, I agree with Bruce, because I'll tell you, when we went looking for Measure K, it was with the understanding that we had, the analogy I think I was told when I explained to people is we have a bucket. It's got a hole in it, and that included rising costs and then eventually that bucket would end up almost empty if we continued. And the idea, we passed it, and then all of a sudden it was, oh, wait a second, those assumptions were wrong. We actually have more money than we thought. Some of that may have been COVID that it might have been, I think of the other money that came in from the government, but the rest of it was, for the longest time, as Alanisa said, is that we didn't have good numbers. And I think we always knew we would have to dip into Measure K, even for police overtime or whatever, but the idea was that it was supposed to fill the bucket, not completely fill it, just to augment it.
Yeah.
And I think that at some point or another, that council, even to some extent, this council got some bad numbers that we hopefully tried to correct. And so this is a reset that we're trying to do. And I agree with what Bruce says, that we've made some changes, we've made some structural changes, but we may need to make more structural changes if we want to keep the faith of the community.
And I agree with the fact we finally have good numbers.
Because I feel a little betrayed as a council member up here. There's some things maybe I could have done better. But there's some numbers when you're told that, hey, we got money, and all of a sudden you don't, then, so that's, I do agree with Bruce that it would be nice just to at least to have that to look back on. Whether or not how much of that is relevant now, depending on where some of our staffing is now and some of the increased costs that, we knew that PERS was going to go up, we knew that insurance was going to go up. Obviously, we can't, national events or international events have a bearing on what happens here. Gas has gone up, et cetera. It's both good and bad. The sales tax is good, but we're all paying at the pump, and so is the city. So in that respect, I agree that not to belabor. That's why I was asking, will we be passing this budget on Monday to move forward with the understanding that we need to revisit the assumptions in that budget? Or is it something that we will have a little chance to do some line item vetoing on Monday?
Or, I mean, the other is to send that, I mean, we used to do it, I mean, it's not unheard of in city councils is to see a proposed budget and give direction to staff and say, hey,
Go back and trim it.
we need, everybody needs to find 10% in this. And you guys are the experts, not me. You do it. We've said that from up here before. But we haven't given that direction. Right now, they have no reason to do anything other than be flat, I mean, I guess, at the best of their ability. So I think that this next one is to determine whether we want to give direction or we want to just accept it the way it is, or
Maybe we could ask staff whether they understand the situation that we're facing. Are we flatlining? Are you guys trying to not cut your staff and balance your budgets on somebody else's, or are we all in this together? I mean, I'm not sure what you're really, of course they know. I mean, what kind of direction should we give them? Like, give them 5%, 10%? That would just be, again, arbitrary decisions. And they're the ones who are more familiar with it than I am. And so I'm just going to, I wouldn't use the word trust, but I'm going to rely upon the professional ability in their jobs to do just that. I mean, we have an interim city manager. We now have an administrative service manager. I feel like we just need to give them the support, the directors the support to make the decisions we're asking to do. I'm not sure which more direction they are lacking right now, that we could just direct them to do something and then do that. I guess we could. I mean, I'm not saying we can't.
it's been done all the, it's pretty standard procedure.
I can't argue against that. All I'm saying is that it's, I'm not here to be a backup for the interim city manager. We have a person who's already working on that full time. We have an administrative services. We have directors who've been working here for 10, 20 years, 30 years collectively. It's not for the five of us who got elected through popular vote to, I don't know. I just would like to see their work. This is the work that they put together. We can give them directions about what else we'd like to see. I think right now we're just trying to get a balanced budget as a whole. But I don't know. I'm just not sure what you mean by giving
Well,
them
we
further
don't have a
direction.
balanced budget, Matthew. That's my point.
Right.
We're so far from a balanced budget, you can't even see it from here.
And who should create that balanced budget? We have an interim city manager, we have an administrative services, we have a staff working on it right now. So why don't we let them work on that, and they're going to present it to us on Friday and on Monday.
So you want to direct them tonight to bring back a balanced budget?
They just had shared with us that on Monday, they're going to be presenting a budget for us to pass. That budget should be balanced. That budget will include, as they've been suggesting, a balance that's going to require Measure K funding.
Taking money out of your savings account does not constitute my definition of balanced.
Well, it's a legal definition of a balanced budget, but I agree with what you're saying.
And it's not, I mean, yeah, it's our savings account, but it's also our reserve fund, but our reserve fund is Measure K. So this was all part of our larger understanding of what Measure K was going to be used for anyway. We just now have the ability to
I don't think we're actually arguing, it kind of sounds like it, but.
I don't think we're arguing either. I really don't think we disagree.
But I think we have different understanding of the language.
And again, maybe akin to what Bruce is talking about, and again, not arguing with it, but in the past, what we would do is we'd have budget meetings where department heads and council would go in there, and we would get to interject and say, Dusty, do you need that program? Davey, do you need that piece of equipment or whatever, and what's the justification? And we had a little more say, and sometimes in the past, at least when I was on staff, that we would look at it and there'd be department heads that would go, you know what, that's a typo, that's in there twice or whatever, and we'd have a little bit of push. Or I know as chief, I was directed to cut staffing at a certain point. And so it's a little hard right now with our current police department this size, but it was a deal where at times I froze positions or I staggered when I would hire. And those were things that we did, and we did it as a team. And I know that right now we're kind of like, we have a team, we've been running short and we've got new team members and we've kind of given the team, okay, show up for the Super Bowl on Monday and with everything ready to go, but it hasn't been like a regular season. And I think that's the analogy I'm giving this year.
It just seems like a lot of micromanaging. We already have a lot of professionals working on
The
it.
city
None of us are financial experts, and
needs-
just we're micromanaging people who are financial experts.
it apparently needs micromanaging.
Well, and I'll have to agree with Bruce, because I'll be honest with you, I depended on those experts and on the prior council.
Right.
And I got to tell you, even with other folks were saying, no, that's not the case, I'm like, and it turns out I probably should have questioned my experts. So,
Well, I feel like we do have a chance to do that. And on Monday, too, we'll have a chance to take a look at it. And honestly, like, I know that they want to get this done, right? It would behoove us just to get it done, right? And so we have the inclination to like, okay, why don't we just wink, it's good enough, let's just all pass it and be done with it. But I'm not going to do that. And I don't know if you guys are going to do that. I want to look at all of it. I'm going to look at it when I get it on Friday. And if it's not prepared to pass, I'm not voting for it to be passed. I don't feel the pressure, I guess, to do that on Monday.
Well, that's fine.
I know they want us to, or they might want us to, or they might feel like we should. I feel like we should, but I feel no pressure whatsoever to pass a budget that I'm not completely familiar with, that I'm not already completely gone through, which means I'm going to be doing my homework over the weekend so that we come on Monday and we have a chance to discuss it, or pass it, or not pass it. But I hope that nobody else feels any pressure, like we have to pass it on Monday.
and again, Bruce brought up a good point. We've delayed it in the past, so I think even if we get there Monday and decide we have some questions or there's an issue, then kicking it another month is probably not the worst thing we could do.
James, I do think it's really important that anybody that had a role in developing the budget, that every department head be here.
Be here on Monday, sure.
This is not time to have anybody do it by proxy.
And a budget, and I'm looking to council, a budget needs to be passed by 4/5 of the council? Is that right?
I don't,
Or is it just majority council?
That's majority, I believe.
Okay,
yeah, I don't think that. Never heard that.
all right.
I do have a question. We weren't expecting the council to pass the budget on the 29th. We were expecting to present it to them, were we not? And then,
On the 29th, you will be presented with a budget and an opportunity to examine it, opportunity to talk with your department heads. Our budget contractor, Andy Heath, will be here to present the budget, to answer questions regarding how we got to the numbers that we got to make the presentation that, as we saw in one of the first couple of slides, this year's budget is it's a very basic, bare bones budget.
Yeah.
We're not looking to buy a car. We're not looking to add equipment. The only capital outlay that's planned in the budget are projects that are already in process, and they're being funded out of specialty funds that are already dedicated to that. But that will all be available for the council to examine on Monday, and then given the opportunity to pass the budget. And if that is not the council's direction, then we'll present you with a continuing resolution that authorizes us to continue working through until the next month, when you have another opportunity to reevaluate the budget.
Well, we don't have to present it once without, I guess that was kind of my assumption. I thought we presented it and then we came back at another meeting and passed it.
It's a simple majority vote, Tom.
I
Okay,
believe
thank
if
you.
you, I mean, I brought this up at the last meeting, but I believe you do have a two-step process in approving any increase in fees or any increase in rates. And,
Well, we're not increasing fees or rates. The budget is just a snapshot of revenue and the authorization of expenditure. If we needed to, and at some point later when we discuss water sewer rates, or if we look at the user fee schedule, as those things are brought to council, then that as a new or increased fee or rates, those would require two meetings. But I'm
so if that, yeah, I mean, if there are no adjustments going to happen to rates, water, sewer, building, inspection, any of that is staying the same as last year, then we don't need to do it.
correct. As part of this budget process, none of that is being undertaken.
Okay.
Okay, the budget presentation is a non-action item tonight. Thank you very much. Any more questions for Joseph, and we'll go to public comment.
You're doing, for jumping into this thing, you're getting a quick hold on it. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and any feedback is always welcome. I just wanted to remind you that, mind all of you, that this presentation that we received is again prior to the completion of any of the capital improvement items, any of the other expenditures that are not general fund or Measure K. So this was he wanted to show us the iceberg before we hit it, and that's what this was, to bring it at a higher level. And all of us just received the actual budget today.
Is there a capital expenditure program in the actual budget too? What we see in there?
There's 100 pages. Yeah.
Not all capital improvement, no. There is the capital improvement fund and budget is in there, yes.
Yeah, it's everything in addition to the general fund that will show the entire budget.
But we have no major capital improvement project for next year that you're aware of.
No streets and repaving.
Wait, okay, I guess. I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, to public comment. Is there any public comment on tonight's budget presentation? Once, going twice. Okay, public comment's closed. All right, thank you, Joseph. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the department monthly report, administrative services. You're back up, Joseph.
Forgive me if I sit for this one. This is my first monthly report where I was actually present for the month of May, so I appreciate being able to share my observations in month one. In the achievements and activities portion of this report, I wanted to mention how the utility billing and our solid staff members up front, Jessica Brito has been taking care of the utility billing marvelously, and the improvements that have been made from what I was told before I arrived, and now that we're moving forward with more efficient billing, is that we're processing the revenues and depositing them daily so that we can ensure the timely and accurate cash management and cash flow. That the vendor invoices are being systematically reviewed. This is part of the process when you have some turnover and the contacts need to be updated. I have, prior staff's email inboxes that I'm going through and combing through those to make sure that invoices haven't been missed or just hiding in that inbox. So as we're doing that, we're doing service recovery, we're mending relationships if there are any that were questioned, and reinforcing the trust and consistency in our financial operations as a city. And an internal communication and notification plan is something that I developed from past experience with Microsoft Office tools. We've already created the inboxes so that they are payroll, human resources already existed. We have accounts payable and accounts receivable inbox. What that is going to do for us is we're going to be able to leverage those calendars to notify ourselves of activities that are cyclical in nature so that we do not miss them, and so that we can also back each other up and create some depth. If people are going to be out or they're out unexpectedly, we will not miss things because we'll be on the work order inbox for that role, not just for an individual. So this is something that we've noticed and we've been able to implement right away, and we're already capitalizing on that. Being able to cover each other and cross-train very magnificently. I'm very happy with the team and what they've been doing. For project updates, it's time to dig into Springbrook. We have already implemented the software, but now we're in the phase of stabilization. We need to figure out how to use it better with reporting and different processes and workflows that are available that we have not been able to investigate. So that's where the push of getting us caught up is coming from, is we need to be able to do some research and development and figure out how to use this tool that we've already purchased. We are, of course, finishing up this 26-27 budget depending on what everyone reviews, what the council finds, but it is something that we were able to get it presented by the end of the month. That is now for us to move to the next step if we can. And then immediately following the budget, once we get that either passed or we're in deliberation on that, we are already going to be moving toward wrapping up and working on the 24-25 audit. So that is already in the coals for the very next thing on our heels. For staffing items, I just wanted to point out the other two members that have really stepped up front. Jose Saldona took on payroll, which is not something that he was doing prior. He has a lot of accounting experience and doing journal entries. Payroll is a totally different animal, and he was able to be cross-trained with the departure of another employee very quickly and has been able to take that on and keep everyone paid. So the fact that he's been able to do that without just throwing his hands up and running away, I'm very happy about that, and it gives me a lot of confidence. Michelle Coleman is taking on administrative HR duties, which is a brand new thing to her, and it's a need that arose from us realizing that we're trying to move away from having so much reliance on our consultants, both financial and HR. We need that backup, we need that depth. We also no longer have an HR analyst. So Michelle has done a wonderful job of stepping into that role and trying to facilitate some of the paperwork that needs to happen in order to update pay rates, statuses, those types of things. As I mentioned, well, I came on in May and have encompassed or taken on finance, overseeing HR functions, and also IT functions. All of those things are important and do not supersede one another in priority, but the heaviest focus seems to be finance, and due to the healthcare issues that arose, HR became a new thing that cropped up as well. So everyone has jumped together as a team, and it's been really inspiring to see how the employees at the city are coming together. So our focus for next month is to keep working on the reconciliation of the ledger. Again, that same person, Jose and Andy Heath, are the ones that are going to have to quickly revert back to that. And we're working all together. Everyone in every department is working on this budget and has worked diligently. So I appreciate all their hard work while they've had these water leaks and these earthquakes and things that keep happening. They just keep going. And we are going to catch up on any required reporting for compliance. That's something that, with the vacancy in my role, we've had things that have gone and sat and waited for us to get our audits and get our financials together. So we're mending a relationship with the state controller's office, and they understand our situation. So we're working with everybody to get caught up on all of those reports. And then, of course, fiscal year end has all sorts of details that we need to wrap up, both in payroll and accounting. So we will need to create that schedule as well and start chipping away at those items. But it was a very exciting first month, and now it's a very exciting second month. So I'm looking forward to bringing some sort of organization to that so that we can start reporting out what we've been doing at a more granular level, but these are very big bullet points.
Whew. Yeah, thank you.
We're glad you're here.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, airport,
I'll give you, so the main thing we accomplished at the airport was we had a, thank you, requirement from Caltrans Aeronautical to clear the obstructions on runway 16. We applied for a $10,000 Caltrans grant money we have every year. We actually finished that application and got it in, so we get that funding, and we use that funding to take those trees down. The other thing that people aren't quite excited about is we did have to refill our tank up there, and with the fuel prices, we had to adjust our prices up a little bit more. We still have 2 empty hangars. If anyone wants to park their plane up there, let them know. We need the rent.
Good.
Does anyone have any questions on the airport specifically?
No
pretty
earthquake
much-
damage at the airport?
No earthquake damage at the airport. And I'm just going to jump in right now and say it since I'm talking about stuff. I just want to give kudos to all our staff today. There wasn't one individual that we had to say, hey, did you take care of that? Everyone I talked to, I was like, hey, you're on top of this. Yes, I got it. What do you need? We were all out there doing our jobs, and everyone reached out to their entities. Everyone reached out to the school district and Caltrans and everyone else at our counterparts, asking for assistance if we needed it, giving assistance if they needed it. We evaluated multiple buildings throughout the town. Some of our buildings can have some pretty structural damages for some of our businesses. We collaborated with the fire department and did a bunch of inspections with them. So I was just really proud of everyone today. Everyone's at the top of their game today. And
Can you give us an update on bridge inspection?
we did a bridge inspection today with our engineer. We did that around 3 o'clock. All of our bridges were in shape. There was no signs of current earthquake damage, with the exception of the East Valley Bridge. It didn't show earthquake damage, but it shows quite a bit of degradation underneath there. As you're aware, I think we do have a matching funding from Caltrans for the design of that bridge, which we are currently working on for the RFP, which that is part of the capital expenditure fund out of the transportation tax. We will match that participation cost for the design of that bridge. So it's a total of $690,000 available. Depending on if we spend all that money, we spend 20% of that, no matter what that cost is. But that is a project we need to get underway. That funding disappears at 2028. If we don't take advantage of that, and we'd have to reapply for a new bridge program. So I'm going to pass it on for everyone else's
Okay.
before I get too deep. Thank you.
Community development.
Thank you, Mayor. Dusty Dooley, your Community Development Director. I just wanted to point out one of the highlights of the report. The city was once again successful in partnering with the Mendocino Council of Governments and obtaining a $188,000 planning grant from Caltrans. This is to support the Highway 20 multimodal circulation and intersection improvement study. Council may recall that staff was in front of you letting you know that the Caltrans SHOP project to apply to that portion of Highway 20 that runs through our city was planned for at least 10 years out, and they were seeking input from the community on council on what type of improvements that we'd like to see within that area, and we got direction from council to explore a number of opportunities related to traffic and pedestrian safety, whether it was roundabouts or safer crosswalks around Highway 20, et cetera. So what this grant is going to do is allow us to do that public outreach and look at some traffic modeling, some different scenarios that we might come up with, and develop a plan that will inform that SHOP project that, again, is at least 10 years out. But now, rather than using general fund money to support that, we'll now have grant funding to support all the city staff's effort in completing that project. And ultimately, there'll be a deliverable that will be presented to council, and certainly we'll keep you updated as that process goes. But happy to announce that we received that grant funding. I also wanted to just say, following this morning's earthquake, I'd like to encourage anyone who experienced damage to their home or business to visit the mendoready.org website and complete their damage assessment form. This is important because it helps the county track the extent of the impacts and supports requests for state and potentially federal disaster assistance if it becomes available.
What was that called again?
mendoready.org. Yes, and there's also try to put something out on our Facebook page too, so it's easy to find that way as well. Also, while we came out relatively unscathed, we certainly have gotten reports where that jolt really knocked things off the shelves and created quite a bit of cleanup for a number of residents. And while I've been getting all these great reports of neighbors and friends and family helping each other out. If there is somebody out there that needs help cleaning up their house and for whatever reasons can't get to it, please contact the Community Development Department. There may be an opportunity to connect you with some volunteer organizations that can come assist with that. If it's just cleaning up broken glass, or if you had a chimney fall down or something, you need help with that debris, if you give us, if you contact again the Community Development Department, we'll try to match you up with some available resources. So, and again, just really proud of everybody stepping up and supporting the situation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To the chief.
Last but not least. So I'd also like to thank staff. Staff, it's tough when there is a natural disaster in the community to be worried about your own family and your own things going on. But your police department staff stayed focused on the situation at hand and continued to be in and about the city, power lines down, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to give a shout out, thanks to staff. Also, law enforcement partners, the sheriff was here right away offering services, as well as both of the police chiefs were offering to help out in any way they could. Aside from my written report, if there's no questions on that, I'd like to highlight National Night Out on Tuesday, August 4th. Keep it on your calendar. I know we only have one meeting in July. So again, August 4th, be right here across the street. And at the risk of beating a dead horse, we've talked about no parking, but I'm happy to share that our new no parking signs have come in. So, at the risk of saying there's no excuse, please let your family, friends, guests know we do not want to tow your car, but if we have to, we will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to Davey, the Public Works and Utilities, did you cover that or do you want to cover that?
Yeah, so I'll just be brief. I know we're getting a little long-winded on this stuff. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Our staff has been really busy prepping for Frontier Days. We trimmed along the parade routes and the bypass routes, so they're prepping for that. Prepping the parks for all their service, bathrooms, all those facilities. So they're doing a really good job of trying to get ahead of it for all the community activities that are going there. Staff, every time we seem to have an event, we seem to find a nice water leak. We had that pretty good size one out there south of town on Friday night, and staff hopped on it and repaired it pretty much without too much of an issue, but they were there pretty late taking care of it. And so when we're all out having fun, just remember our staff is working after hours till 8, 9 o'clock at night, taking care of our business for us. So I really shout out to them and appreciate their effort. And they do it without a complaint and with a smile on their face. So the other thing that's of note, I think I kind of touched on it, but we actually got PTO for the solar park, and so that is online. We will have available shortly on our website a link to it to show how much power it's producing. It has some nice graphics that kind of tells you how much power you're saving and all these fancy little metrics. So, but that is online, so we are actively saving money with that right now. So look forward to seeing how that works out for us.
So the earthquake shook our city, obviously.
Very much.
And groundwater was once again visible.
Yes.
Is it just a general notification to the whole public that this happened?
Yeah, so the groundwater it's basically mostly sediment in our pipes. And so when we have a break in the line, or when we add turbulence to it, so when we break a line or have massive flushing, and when you're shaking the earth, you're stirring up that pipe. And so the best thing you can get advice to the public when they have a groundwater situation is, turn your water on your hose at your spigot before it comes into your house, so you're not running groundwater through your shower head or your water filters or anything like that. And a lot of people, we had an experience with, people starting to fill up their tubs and their pools in their backyards, stuff like that. You're using a spigot that may not have been used all winter. So when you agitate that, you're going to get some brown water out of it. So let it run for a little bit, let it run till it runs clear, and then you're good. And if you do run it and it runs clear, that initial jolt is most likely not the city's water, right? If it runs clear at some point, it's something in your system. But yeah, if people are experiencing brown water from the earthquake, if they ask, definitely run your outside hose, your spigots prior to your house until it runs clear, and then you should be that'll get the majority of it out prior to entering your house. I know a lot of people have complaints about their water filters and things like that, so you don't want to run your kitchen sink till it runs clear. You want to run your outside faucet, your hose spigot. Don't let it into your house.
Did we have a lot of water leaks today?
We had a handful of them. So we had 3 or 4 fire suppression systems break, and we had a handful of a couple on the owner's side and a couple on our side, right at the valve locations, which those are kind of the natural locations where they'll break during an earthquake because that's a fixed point versus in the bucket in the box. So yeah, we had a handful of them.
Did anybody lose a foundation? Anything fall trailers or anything of?
So not on foundation. We had a couple chimney issues. We had a poor gentleman shoveling bricks off his roof. And the most sustained damage was at the shopping center down south, Rite Aid building, which is currently vacant. It has an issue with the awning. It's pretty much pulled away and it's in jeopardy of collapse. That the city barricaded that off, and the owner's been contacted. He made contact. He's already hired an engineer, which I've discussed with, for a solution, and he's getting temporary fencing to isolate that from the community more in a better fashion than the barricades and caution tape. And the other building that sustained pretty major damage is Grocery Outlet. They had a column support beam and purlin where the wall had pulled away, and part of the column support, it's a block support, it broke, and so the beam is actually dropped and pulled away from the wall about 6 inches. I've been in contact with, they hired an engineer as well. I've been in contact with him. So we're working forward with a solution and get occupancy.
So Mariposa Market's open, but Safeway and Grocery Outlet are closed.
Yeah, so Mariposa Market, and that's the newest building built to a little higher standard than the previous buildings. Sustained the least damage. They pretty much had no damage other than stock, right? They had a bunch of stock fall off the shelves, and they did a massive cleanup really fast. Gems and Geodes right next door, they had their front windows broken, a bunch of stuff fall off their shelves. So Roundtree Glass is amazing. They already were helping them out with plywood and new window replacement. They actually cleaned up some of their glass for them. So Safeway has a lot of stock damage. You couldn't even walk down the aisles when I went through. So much stuff was there. They had quite a bit of damage to ceiling tiles, a couple of water leaks, and the fire suppression system wasn't leaking, but it had some bent pipes in there that have to get addressed by a licensed contractor to address to make sure it's certified and going to be operational. No leaks in that system, but you had some strange damage. Dropped off some of the pipe hangers, it's all been concealed ceiling. So they had a lot of work ahead of them, just mainly clean up some electrical work, some of their security cameras, and some of their exhaust fan fixtures came down from the ceiling. They're just hanging there by their electrical cords. So they had, I counted 4 contractor vans there one time I left. So they were staffing up pretty fast to repair those issues.
In our hospital?
And I had, the power outage was the biggest issue. They lowered, I think they slowed down on their surgical schedule. And I believe that was their main issue was power. I didn't hear of any issues from the earthquake damage. Was that about right from the hospital? They had surgical issues. They slowed down their schedule. I don't remember any of
Not
that issue.
for the non-major ones.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, no, okay, so, yeah.
All right. Any questions? All right, to the,
I have something to add.
okay.
Starting July 13th is the date that council packets can be picked up for those that want to run for election.
Woo!
And they have to be dropped off by August 7th. If we have an incumbent that does not apply, it then extends to the 12th. So count the potential candidates can pick up their packets by making an appointment with me. Call me at 707-459-7113. And the time is 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, they can pick up the packet.
Okay.
If they need to come in on Fridays, I will make special arrangements for Fridays with them.
Very good. Okay, to the council, if you can combine good and welfare and announcements and communications and reports. Bruce?
Any chance Joseph, you had fund balances for the different accounts for this month?
We did not get those with everything that was going on today. I was unable. Joseph is, we're still waiting on the bank to approve him to allow me to access the funds. And I was home with my dad most of the day trying.
That's fine. Maybe
I
next,
will email those to you tomorrow if you'd like.
or next Monday, or whenever you can
I'll
get
have them ready for Monday for you.
it. Okay, thanks.
And just to clarify, those will be at both meetings each month?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just one meeting a month, whatever.
Well, we get you the fund balances each meeting, so.
Okay, thank you. No, I think, curious if Matthew has an update, but I'll wait for his report.
Nothing? You have anything?
No.
You have anything?
Just an MTA meeting we had earlier today. We met here in the city of Willits. Once a year, we like to go around and check out each of the cities that are represented with the MTA. And this year was Willits' turn, and we were planning a wonderful lunch to showcase our town today. Of course, then the earthquake happened, and it canceled most of our plans. So fortunately, we did have enough quorum here to meet as MTA. We passed our budget, essentially, and we're looking forward to getting some new electric buses here in Willits. We're getting one this weekend and a couple by the end of the summer.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, to the public, we do have a meeting on Monday, the 29th, but then the council does not meet again until July 22nd. So there's only one meeting in July. So July 22nd will be our next regular council meeting. Mondays is a very special meeting just for the budget. I'd certainly appreciate Senator McGuire reaching out to me today, as well as Congressman Huffman's office reaching out, offering if there's something we need. And to inquire as to what's going on. It's nice to have people who live outside the area and represent us to be concerned. But that's it. This is a very special time for the city of Willits with Frontier Day the next 2 weeks. And exciting time for our country, 250 years of birthday. So wear Western wear, that's our pledge. Happy 4th of July, happy birthday, America. And we will be back for a special meeting on Monday, June 29th at 6:30 p.m. Good night. This meeting's adjourned.